Are you living a life today that you would like to live for all eternity?
You think power comes from speaking, from having the fastest answer, the sharpest insult, the loudest voice. You are wrong. They told you to be a great communicator. They told you to fill the space. They lied. True power, the kind that breaks people, the kind that bends reality to your will, does not come from what you say. It comes from what you don't say. It is found in the predatory silence of a 2-second pause. You believe you need a secret weapon, a tool. This isn't a tool. This is an amputation. In this video, I will show you how to cut out the part of you that reacts, that feels, that bleeds. I will show you how to turn a simple breath into a weapon of immense psychological force. Listen, what you are about to learn will make you dangerous. It will forever sever you from the herd. You know the feeling. The conversational cage match. Someone makes a demand, and you feel the Pavlovian jolt to obey. Someone levels an accusation, and your heart hammers in your chest as your brain scrambles for a defense. You are cornered. You are reactive. You are weak. You leave the interaction gutted, replaying what the stronger version of you should have done. This state of being perpetually on the back foot is your natural state. It is a biological flaw. You are designed to react. A notification buzzes, you twitch. An email lands, you reply. A question is asked, and you vomit words to fill the silence, terrified of that pause. But what if that pause wasn't a weakness? What if it was an abyss you could push your opponent into? The core principle is this: the person who controls the pace of a conversation controls the other person. The ultimate tool for controlling pace is not speed. It is stillness. It is the surgical deployment of silence. Silence is not empty. It is a vacuum you create to force the other person to confront the pathetic nature of their own words. This is not about being passive. This is about being predatory. It is the difference between flinching at a chess move and pausing to watch your opponent fall into a trap you set 3 moves ago. In that pause, you cease to be a pawn in their pathetic game. You become the hand that sweeps the pieces from the board. In this deep dive, we will dissect the anatomy of this power. First, the foundation. Why silence is a weapon that dismantles the human mind. Then, the core technique. The 2-second power pause, a method so fundamental it will become your new operating system. Finally, we will forge this into something darker, a Machiavellian technique that turns you from a participant into the silent conductor of their downfall. This is the art of psychological warfare. Section 1. The foundation. Why silence is your weapon. To understand the power of silence, you must understand the pathetic wiring of the human animal. Every conversation is a subconscious exchange of validation. A rapid-fire rhythm. A typical pause is less than half a second. We are hardwired to need this feedback. When you deliberately deny them that feedback, when you stretch that gap to 2, 3, 4 seconds, you are not being quiet. You are violating a core law of social physics. This violation is the source of your power. Let's call this principle the power of the abyss, the psychology of the abyss. First, you sever the emotional feedback loop. Aggressive people, emotional people, they are parasites. They feed on your reaction. They throw out bait, an insult, a demand, and they wait for you to bite. Your immediate emotional response is their meal. It validates their attack. It fuels them. When you respond with cold, deliberate silence, you starve them. You give them nothing. The emotional energy they projected hits a wall of concrete and ricochets back. striking them. In that abyss, they are left alone with the echo of their own words, which suddenly sound desperate and foolish. They expect a fight. You offer a vacuum. This forces them to crawl into your frame. Second, you weaponize the cognitive load. Think of their brain as a cheap processor. When you speak, the load is on you. But when you are silent, the entire cognitive load shifts to them. They've made their move. The conversational ball is in the air, but you don't catch it. You let it hang. Their brain, expecting a return, begins to malfunction. What are they thinking? Did I offend them? Do they know something I don't? Are they about to fire me? Destroy me? This internal panic drains their mental resources. It creates a crushing pressure. They will almost always break. They will rush to fill the void you created, and they will fill it with concessions, justifications, and weaknesses they never intended to reveal. Research has confirmed what the powerful have always known. Pausing in negotiations forces the opponent to shift from reactive, animalistic thinking to a more reflective state. Your silence forces a moment of calculation that their hurried, emotional brain cannot handle. Third, you project absolute authority. Who is the most powerful person in the room? Not the one running his mouth. It's the one who is comfortable in the silence, the one who feels no nervous compulsion to fill every second with noise. A fast reaction signals anxiety. It signals a lack of control. A deliberate pause signals the opposite. It says, I am not rattled. I am not intimidated. I am considering your words, and I am deciding your fate. This perception of cold, calculated control is terrifying. A junior banker was coached to simply count to 3 in his head before speaking in negotiations. His opponents perceived him as wise beyond his years. No, he wasn't wise. He was just quiet. The abyss in action. Imagine a negotiation. You state your price. The manager scoffs. Boy, that's far more than we budgeted. The prey animal inside you immediately starts justifying, well, my experience, the market rate. You are now defensive. You have already lost. Now, imagine using the abyss. The manager says, that's far more than we budgeted. You meet their eyes. Your expression is a mask of stone, and you say nothing. You hold that silence for 2-3 seconds. To you, it feels like an eternity. To them, it is a moment of pure psychological torture. They threw a punch and hit a ghost. In that silence, they begin to negotiate against themselves. Was I too harsh? Maybe the number is fair. I can't lose this person. Almost always, they will be the first to speak again, and their next words will be a retreat. They will say, but tell me your reasoning. Or, what's the lowest you'd be willing to accept? You force them to cede ground without uttering a single word. Consider an argument. Your partner screams, you never listen to me. The reactive response, yes, I do. That's not true. The fight escalates. The abyss response, they scream, you never listen to me. You look at them. Your expression is not angry. It is a blank slate. You let the silence hang. Your silence tells them you heard the words, but you are not affected by the emotion. After the pause, a quiet, tell me more, becomes an instrument of interrogation. You have shifted the dynamic from a fight to an examination, all because you refuse to play their emotional game. This is the foundation. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a surgical tool that dismantles expectations, shifts pressure, and projects absolute power. And now we will build on this. We will forge the weapon. Section 2, Technique number 1, the 2-second power pause. You understand the why. Now for the how. We will operationalize the abyss into a simple, repeatable, and brutal technique. the 2-second power pause. This is the engine of the entire system. 2 seconds is the magic number. It's just longer than a natural pause, long enough to break the rhythm and trigger the cognitive collapse we discussed. But it's not so long that it's seen as a refusal to engage. 4 seconds is an eternity. It can be read as weakness or confusion. 2 seconds is the sweet spot. It is the precise measure of dominance. The how-to of the power pause. This is elegant in its simplicity, but it requires cold discipline. Step 1. Receive the attack. This is the incoming projectile. A question. Why were sales down? A demand. I need this done tonight. An insult. You don't know what you're doing. Let them finish. Do not interrupt. Absorb the blow without flinching. Step 2. Initiate the pause. The 2 seconds of war. This is the moment you kill the animal inside you. Every instinct will scream at you to speak. You must crush this urge. You initiate a deliberate 2-second pause. The best way to do this is to link it to breath. As they finish, take a slow, silent inhale, a slow, silent exhale. This physical act anchors you. It calms your nervous system. And it looks like you are not stalling. You are thinking. You are calculating. Step 3. Maintain the mask of command. During these 2 seconds, your body must be a fortress. Do not look away. Maintain steady, unblinking eye contact. Your expression is neutral. A predator does not show emotion before the strike. Your posture is relaxed, open. This physical stillness amplifies your verbal silence. It screams composure. It says you are in total control. If you look panicked, you have lost. If you look calm, you are a weapon. Step 4. Deliver your calculated response. After 2 seconds, you speak. Not in a rush. You deliver your response in a calm, measured, deliberate tone. Because you took that moment, your response will be strategic, not impulsive. The pause is the gap where you strip the emotion from the equation and choose your words with the precision of a scalpel. The advanced psychology. What you are doing is a form of psychological jujitsu. You take the force of their attack, and instead of meeting it, you step aside. So you let their momentum carry them into the void. This technique is the physical manifestation of emotional amputation. Power is not the absence of emotion. It's the absolute refusal to let it dictate your actions. The pause is the gap you create between stimulus and response. In that gap, you reclaim your freedom to choose. You feel the flash of anger, the jolt of anxiety, but you don't let it command you. You observe the feeling, and then you deliberately choose a response that serves your objective. Scenarios. The victim versus the predator scenario. 1. The job interview. The interviewer asks, "Tell me about your biggest failure." The victim's response, a nervous stammer. "Oh, failure? Wow. Well, there was this one time." They look panicked, weak. Their credibility is gone. They are trying to think and speak at the same time and failing at both. The predator's response. The interviewer asks, "Tell me about your biggest failure." Step 1. Receive. You hold their gaze. Step 2 and 3. Pause. You take a quiet 2-second breath, your expression thoughtful, as if weighing which of their many questions is most worthy of an answer. Step 4. Respond. You begin calmly. The failure that provided the most useful data was. You then deliver a calculated answer, framed around what you learned and how it made you more effective. The pause transformed you from a nervous supplicant into a cold, reflective, and valuable asset. Scenario 2. The high-pressure sale. The salesman uses a classic pressure tactic. "I have another buyer coming in an hour. If you want it, you need to decide now." The victim's response: "Oh, really? Okay. What's the best price?" Your voice is laced with anxiety. You've fallen into his frame. You are operating on his timeline. The predator's response: the salesman says, "You need to decide now. Step 1, receive." You look at him. Step 2 and 3, pause. You give a slow, almost imperceptible nod, your face a blank slate. The 2-second silence is deafening to a salesman who relies on momentum. He starts to wonder if his tactic failed, or worse, if he insulted you. Step 4, respond. After the pause, you look him in the eye and say calmly, "I don't make rushed decisions." Or even better, a simple, "Good for them." You have dismantled his frame and imposed your own. You are now in control. Mastering the 2-second power pause is like learning the language of command. It requires practice. It requires discipline. But once you have it, you will never be powerless again. Mid-video CTA. If you are beginning to understand that this one simple act of stillness can make you formidable, hit the subscribe button. Because what we have covered is only the first layer. We are about to go deeper into strategies that will make you truly feared. Section 3. Technique number 2. The echo chamber. Making them disarm themselves. Once you have mastered the power pause, you can combine it with verbal techniques to amplify its effect. The most lethal of these is a strategy we will call the echo chamber. The echo chamber is what you do after the pause. Instead of answering, you take their own words and you throw them back. It is a disarmingly simple technique that forces the other person to confront, explain, and almost always retreat from their own position. The psychology of the echo. The principle here is rooted in the human need to justify its own weakness. When someone makes an absolute or demanding statement, they are not prepared to logically defend it. It is an emotional outburst. When you simply echo their words back to them as a question, you are not attacking. You are not disagreeing. You are holding up a mirror to their own words and implicitly asking, "Is this what you really mean? Are you prepared to die on this hill?" This does several powerful things. It evades confrontation. When you say no or "that's unreasonable," you create an adversarial dynamic. The echo chamber creates no such conflict. It's a soft, inquisitive response that is almost impossible to fight. How can they get angry at you for repeating their own words? It forces capitulation. The person is now forced to explain themselves. They have to fill the space with logic. This exposes the weakness in their own argument. They are no longer making a demand. They are defending a position, which is a psychologically inferior stance. It triggers self-correction. In the process of trying to justify themselves, people often talk themselves down from their own extreme positions. Hearing their demand echoed back, followed by their own fumbling explanation, makes them realize it was unreasonable. Well, when I say it has to be done by tomorrow, I mean it's a priority. But Friday morning could work. They just negotiated with themselves. For you. How to use the echo chamber. Receive their statement. Execute your 2-second power pause. Isolate the core of their statement, usually the core demand. Repeat those words back with a calm, downward inflecting, inquisitive tone. This is not a challenge. It is an autopsy. The echo chamber in action. Scenario 1. The unreasonable boss. Your boss says, "I need you to redo this entire presentation. It has to be on my desk first thing tomorrow morning." The reactive response. "Tomorrow? That's impossible. This will take hours." You sound stressed, confrontational, weak. The echo chamber response. Your boss says, "First thing tomorrow morning." You look up. 2-second power pause. Your face is calm. Then you say, softly, "First thing tomorrow morning?" That's it. The pressure is now on them. Their brain will automatically start to fill in the blanks of your unspoken objections. They are forced to justify the urgency. They might say, "Yes, I have a client meeting at 9 a.m. Now you have intelligence. You can respond strategically. I see. Given the volume, a full completion by 9 a.m. is a challenge. What are the critical sections you need for that meeting? I will prioritize those and have them perfected for you." The echo forced them to give you the why, which opened the door for a strategic solution, not a conflict. They may even self-correct. Well, first thing would be ideal, but as long as I have it before lunch, that's fine. Scenario 2. The emotional friend. You cancel plans. They respond with a guilt trip. "You're so unreliable." The reactive response. "I am not. That's so unfair." You are now defending yourself. The conversation is about your character. You've lost. The echo chamber response. They say, "You're so unreliable." You take the hit. T2-second. Power pause. Let the accusation hang in the air like poison. Then, with a calm, almost clinical curiosity, you say, "Unreliable?" This disarms them. They expected a fight. Instead, you've invited them to provide data. They are forced to move from an emotional attack to specifics. "Well, you canceled last month. Now you can address the data, not the emotion." "I understand why it feels that way. The data points you're referencing are correct. I'm sorry it's impacting you." The echo chamber is a sophisticated weapon. It turns a confrontation into an interrogation. By using their words, you make them do the work, and in the process, they often solve the problem for you. Section 4. The strategic unpredictability of silence. Once you have integrated the power pause in the echo chamber, it is time to become a true strategist. Power is not about using one technique. It is about being unpredictable. If you use the pause every time, it becomes a pattern. And patterns can be broken. This brings us to our third level, the pattern disruptor. This is the art of strategic unpredictability, using silence not as a rule, but as one weapon among many to keep your opponents off balance, guessing, and constantly adjusting to you. The psychology of the pattern disruptor. Humans are pattern recognition animals. Predictability gives them comfort. It gives them a feeling of control. Your goal is to deny them that comfort. You must break their script. The idea is to balance your use of cold silence with calculated moments of warmth and speed. By being strategically unpredictable, you prevent people from ever getting a read on you. They can't label you. You are simply effective. You become a black box, and what people cannot predict, they cannot manipulate. This is a core principle of power. Maintain an air of mystery. A master of power is a master of rhythm. He can use devastating pauses to let his points land like hammer blows, but he can also use a faster, more passionate cadence to energize and disarm. The pause is a tool, not a crutch. How to use the pattern disruptor. This is a strategic mindset, not a tactic. Use the power pause for challenges. When you face a demand, an accusation, or a threat, deploy the 2-second power pause. This is for high-stakes moments. It shows you are immune to pressure. Use speed and charm for camouflage. When the goal is to lower their guard, be responsive. Use natural gaps. Laugh. Respond quickly. This is not for connection. This is to make them believe you are like them, the harmless social animal. It is a mask. Use abrupt silence to kill a point. After you have made a powerful final statement, you follow it with an abyss of silence. Do not soften it. Do not explain it. Make your point, and then stop. Let the weight of your statement crush the room. Example. And for that reason, we will not be moving forward. Followed by absolute, unwavering silence. Vary your rhythms to maintain dominance. In ongoing relationships, like in a workplace, do not be the one who always pauses. In one meeting, be sharp and quick. In the next, be reflective, using pauses to force others to expose their positions. This keeps them guessing. It prevents them from ever taking you for granted. By varying your approach, you have used silence and speed as different weapons for different objectives. You are not a one-trick pony. You are a master of social dynamics. You have disrupted their patterns, and in doing so, you have maintained absolute control. Section 5, the inner fortress, the mindset behind the weapon. The techniques we have discussed are effective, but they are just tools. Their power depends on the mind of the one who wields them. Without the right internal foundation, these techniques are a cheap performance. This final section is the most important. It is about building the inner fortress of self-command that makes these external techniques a natural extension of who you are. The ultimate goal is not to control others. It is to achieve such profound control over yourself that others have no choice but to follow your lead. And this is the path to psychological dominion. The core principle: emotional amputation, not numbness. Let's be clear. This is not about becoming a robot. It is not about suppressing emotion. Suppression leads to explosion. This is about feeling the emotion, the anger, the fear, and refusing to be enslaved by it. It is the ability to stand in the eye of an emotional hurricane and use its energy as fuel. The pause is the physical manifestation of this. It is the sacred space where you transmute raw, reactive emotion into a cold, strategic response. Strategy 1. Conduct a brutal self-audit. You must become a student of your own weaknesses. Where do you get triggered? Where do you overreact? Does your craving for validation make you over-explain yourself? Does your fear of conflict make you a coward who agrees to everything? Does your pride make you defensive when criticized? Journal past interactions where you lost control. Identify the trigger. Identify your pathetic reaction. By bringing these unconscious patterns into the light, you can kill them. When you know a trigger is coming, you can prepare to meet it with a pause instead of a flinch. Strategy 2. Convert emotion into fuel. Emotions are energy. The weak try to suppress this energy or let it explode. The master redirects it. When someone's incompetence makes you angry, you don't yell. You pause, and you channel that fire into a plan to fix the problem or remove the person. When a high-stakes situation makes you fearful, you don't panic. You pause, and you channel that energy into meticulous preparation. When you feel jealousy, you don't complain. You pause, and you channel that motivation into becoming so superior, they become irrelevant. The pause is the moment of conversion, where you decide what that emotional energy will become. Strategy 3. Establish impenetrable boundaries. Your time, attention, and emotional energy are your most valuable resources. Not everyone deserves them. The pause is a boundary. It is you non-verbally stating, "I will not be rushed. I will not be bullied. I will engage on my terms." Stop making decisions from fear. Fear of being disliked. Fear of conflict. Being liked is not the same as being respected. The pause gives you a moment to ask, does engaging with this serve my primary objective? If the answer is no, you disengage. You protect your energy. On strategy 4, practice. Predatory. Silence. You cannot maintain mental clarity if you are constantly bombarded by noise. You must carve out time to be alone, to be silent. Silence, practiced voluntarily, builds your tolerance for the weaponized silences in conversation. When you are comfortable sitting in silence with yourself, you will be far more comfortable deploying it as a tool against others. The person who needs constant noise is a slave, The person at peace in the quiet is a master. Building this inner fortress is the deep work. As you do it, you will find the 2-second pause is no longer a trick. It becomes a reflex, the outward expression of an inner state of cold, deliberate power. You will move through the world not as someone reacting to events, but as a gravitational force, bending events to your will through the sheer power of your self-command. We have traveled from a simple, 2-second breath to the foundation of psychological warfare. We have seen how violating the rhythm of conversation, the power of the abyss, dismantles expectations and puts you in a position of absolute authority. We broke it down into a practical weapon, the 2-second power pause, your new default for handling any challenge. An inhale and an exhale that transforms you from flustered to formidable. We layered on the subtle echo chamber, the art of using your enemy's words to make them destroy their own position. We explored the high-level strategy of the pattern disruptor, using unpredictability to become unreadable, and therefore unbeatable. And finally, we anchored it all in the inner fortress, the understanding that these techniques are an extension of true self-command and the brutal practice of emotional amputation. The world is a noisy place, filled with people desperate to be heard, who believe power lies in speaking more, louder, faster. They are all slaves, caught in a reactive dance. You now have the key to break that rhythm. You have the secret to stepping outside that frantic dance and becoming the one who controls the tempo. True power is not in the words you speak. It is in the deliberate, cold, and powerful silence that you command. It is the ability to own the space between the words. Stop reacting. Start commanding. The power was never in the answer. It was always in the pause. If this video has opened your eyes, understand this is only the beginning. This is what I can show you publicly. There are levels to this that I cannot discuss on this platform. Click the video on the screen now for a deeper dive, and I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tell me, who will be the first person you use the power pause on? Subscribe for more secrets to unlocking your personal power. But if you want what is hidden, if you are ready to go deeper than the rest, click the join button. Step into the inner circle. Most won't. That is the point. Thank you for watching.